त्वं स्वजीवम् साद्वैतं स्वाधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान सह गणललिता श्रीविका विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. That was wonderful. Mangala Sharan, just always good to always nice to always have the invoke the blessings of our acharyas and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because we could make any mistakes, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, an incarnation of Krishna who come in the form of a devotee, is so kind and merciful that even if there are any mistakes, he pardons us and he gives us his blessings to practicing Krishna consciousness. So it's very joyful. Amoga Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. We just
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So before I go there, I just wanted to quickly do the bit of Kirtan, and then we will dive into that with everyone's permission as we do the Jai Radha Madhava, and then we will, after that we can just go into this. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Always nice to do a kirtan in the morning, in the whenever before we start our class. In fact, these days, like even with whatever limited time that you have, I make a shortened version of the kirtan in the morning times because Sankirtan Yajna or this chanting of the holy name is something which is very dear to Krishna. So whatever, even if you have a little bit of time, it is nice to just do a bit of kirtan to play for the pleasure of Krishna, because one of the name of Krishna is Rishikesha, the master of all our senses. So when we please Rishikesha, then our senses also get purified, our senses also become happy. So Ashwin Prabhu, Hare Krishna, thank you for joining us. Hare Krishna. So with every one of your permission, so we're going to start another new chapter. We'll just invoke blessings of Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As we always mention before every Krishna Katha, like as I was mentioning, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yogeti takritaha chakradeham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna, where Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that listening to Krishna Katha is just so auspicious and so purifying that whoever is listening to Krishna Katha towards the end of their life, they will not come back into this material world, but they will directly go to Krishna Loka. So the most important thing for Krishna devotees to understand is that anything that we listen about Krishna is Janma Karmachar and Divyam. These are all Divyam, means transcendental, where everything is very spiritual, not to be understood on the spiritual platform. So we always have to keep in mind that whenever we are listening about Krishna Katha, these things are all very, very spiritual. Sometimes the things that Krishna does are so abnormal, like jumping away from the top of a mountain, which is like 80 miles mountain, or you can talk about 7 years Krishna lifting a Govardhan hill. These are all the things not to be understood on the material platform, or Krishna spending time with the Gopikas who are an expansion of Radharani. But for devotees, we relish this nectar, we take this nectar of devotion within our heart, and this Krishna Katha helps us in developing love for Krishna. So one of the most important things, because when we are chanting the holy name of Krishna, two things happen. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, which means cleansing of the heart. And second thing is the love of Krishna will grow more and more. So chanting the holy name of Krishna, at the same time listening to Krishna Katha, all these kind of spiritual activities will kind of like, will remove all the samskaras, all the past, imprints from a past life. And at the same time, they help in developing love for Krishna. Because in today's material world, it's a world of duality. We are all facing a lot of ups and downs, problems, grievances, all kind of things. Today is a good day, tomorrow is a bad day, like that. It keeps on happening. But as long as we are sticking to the lotus feet of Krishna, Krishna will always give us the protection, just like he gave the protection to the people of Vrindavan who were lashed out with rains from Indra, and Krishna protected them by lifting the Govardhan hill. So if Krishna can protect the devotees of Vrindavan by lifting the Govardhan hill, if Krishna can show his love for his dearest friend Sudama by giving him a mighty palace, if Krishna can respond to the love of Rukmini by going and taking her in the middle, even though there is so much of risk of picking her up from the place called Kundani, if Krishna would do all of this, Krishna will do the same for all the devotees as well. So the most important thing is to have the faith. Avasya Rakshabe Krishna Viswasa Palana, which means my Krishna, having the faith that Krishna will surely give us the protection. So that is something which is very important. We covered last week a beautiful chapter, and we seen how Krishna's son, and in the form of who was actually Cupid, and who was again born in this like as Pradyumna. And we seen how Pradyumna was born to kill Sambara, the demon, and finally he lands up doing that. So There's some things which these things are all divine pastimes of Krishna. When Krishna and Rukmini have been blessed with a beautiful boy who's called Pradyumna, and this Pradyumna was taken away by this demon called Sambara. And finally, whatever is meant to happen is whenever because this demon called Sambara was destined to be killed by Pradyumna, somehow Pradyumna gets thrown into the sea and lands up into a fish, taking him in, and then finally that gets brought back again into Sambara's kingdom and things like that. So we covered all this one in the previous chapter. And we've seen how Pradyumna was once again reunited with his family, and Krishna and Rukmini, and all of them became very, very happy because they got back their lost son. Because we all remember that Pradyumna at a very young age, he was abducted or taken away by this demon called Sambara. And then finally, they all reunited in the palace of Dwarka. So Pradyumna born to Krishna and Rukmini was the name of the chapter. So the next chapter that we're covering the story of the Shamantaka Jival. So I will just start off a bit, and then after that we can just discuss about this. There was a king of the name Satrajit within the jurisdiction of Dwarka Dama. He was a great devotee of the sun god, who awarded him the benediction of a jewel known as Shamantaka. Because of this Shamantaka jewel, there was a misunderstanding between King Satrajit and the Yadu dynasty. Later, the matter was settled when Satrajit voluntarily offered Krishna his daughter, Satyabhama, along with the Samantika jewel. Not only Satyabhama, but also Jambavati, the daughter of Jambavan, was married to Krishna on account of the Samantika jewel. These two marriages took place before the appearance of Pradyumna, which was described in the last chapter. How King Satrajit offended the Yadu dynasty and how he later came to his senses and offered his daughter and the Shamantaka jewel to Krishna are described as follows. So we can see like in Dwarka at that point of time, so we are unraveling another new Krishna Katha, another pot of nectar is going to be covered in this beautiful chapter, the story of Shamantaka jewel. I'm sure many of you, like especially who are born in India, we all heard about this Shamantaka jewel and about about the fighting between Jambavan and things like that. So we did hear, we used to have some comic books and things like that. We did read when we were small kids at that point of time. But the beauty about KrishnaBook is that Prabhupada, we are so fortunate that Prabhupada has given us this KrishnaBook, which is directly taken from Bhagavatam, which is the nectar of the entire Vedic literature, which is the essence of this entire Vedic literature. And we are so fortunate that we are able to get into the details and listen to this entire Krishna Katha in proper, complete details. If everything was written in Sanskrit, maybe it wouldn't have been this situation. But Prabhupada was so kind that he's given this entire translation in English. And as we can see that during this time of Dwarka Dama, as we all know that Krishna, in order to give protection to the people of Mathura, he created a new city called Dwarka in the middle of the sea, and he transferred all the people from Mathura to the city of Dwarka, right? And we know that. And during this, and in this jurisdiction of Dwarka, we find like there is another king called Satrajit, and he was a devotee of the sun god. And we can see that during this Vedic period, right, during the Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna came in Dwapara Yuga, Sri Rama came in Treta Yuga. So like that, we can see that during that time also, the people of Vrindavan were devotees of Indra. They were doing rituals to please Indra. At the same time, here we can see that Satrajit again is a devotee of the sun god. Does anybody know what's the name of Surya, sun god? Krishna makes a reference to that, isn't it? Does anyone know the name of sun god? Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivaswan manave prava manu ikvakeve bravit. So Krishna, yes, Jagan Prabhu, you were saying that?
Yes.
Vivaswan, right. So Krishna says that the first time that Bhagavad Gita was ever spoken was to the sun god. His name is Vivaswan. So sun god has a name called Vivaswan, and Vivaswan passed his entire knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Manu, and Manu passed it on to Ikwaku. Ikwaku is someone from the Raghurama dynasty. So like that, in a parampara, it has been coming. And finally, somewhere the link got broken, and that's why Krishna says, I'm again speaking this Bhagavad Gita to you. So we can see that during that time, they were great devotees of the sun god and so devotees of Indra and things like that. But Krishna, through the Govardhan Leela, has mentioned that you don't need to worship Indra. because even Indra also is actually working for Krishna. They're all like part and parcel of Krishna. But Indra, because he was so puffed off that he was not happy that the people of Vrindavan were not worshipping him, so he lashes out with rain. He sends the most powerful cloud on to lash out rain, but Krishna, just with his little finger, he lifts the golden hill to show that he is the supreme God. There's no one above Krishna. Above Indra, there is Krishna, but above Krishna, there's no one. Mata paratam nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaiva. Krishna says, Arjuna, there is no other truth which is superior to me. Everything is resting on me, just as a pearl, a beautiful necklace of pearls are resting on a string which is inside. Similarly, this entire cosmic universe is resting on Krishna. So Krishna says, and there is nothing higher than Krishna. But we can see that even though, so the sun god has given him this Samantaka jewel, and because of this, the benediction, because in those days, right, and we find that the sun god, and you can see Brahma, all of them, they're giving benedictions, isn't it? So when Hiranyakashipu worships Brahma, he's been given this boon that no man can kill him, no animal can kill him. Similarly, the sun god also here has given him a benediction of a jewel called Samantaka jewel. And again, material things are such a thing that they always land up changing hands, and also they land up as a point of misunderstanding. So here we can find that because this Samantaka jewel, there was a misunderstanding between Kshatrajit and the Yadu dynasty. And we know that this Dwarka and that area around that was all ruled by the Yadu dynasty, and Krishna was the king over there at that point of time. So, and later we can see that the matter was settled, and Kshatrajit gives his daughter Satyabhama along with the king. And also his another daughter called Jambavati as well. So we'll be covering all that, but this is just a synopsis to mention that about this about the another marriage that is likely to take place, and these things all happened before even Pradyumna came into picture. So we all know that Rukmini was about to get married. She was not interested, and then finally Krishna goes and saves Rukmini, and then he brings Rukmini back to Dwaraka, and in Dwaraka the marriage happens, and then Pradyumna comes into the picture because he was born to Krishna and Pradyumna. So we can understand from this that all this has happened even before Pradyumna came into the picture. And how Satyajit offended the Yadu dynasty. So we can see that, even in the kings in those days, they were all puffed with all, the kind of like the Kshatriya spirit is that, that they're always puffed with valor, and they always think they're higher than, because even we remember even a couple of chapters back, we spoke about how even Rukmi, who's actually a brother of Rukmini, even he was also very puffed up, isn't it? He told like, either I'm not going to come back into the kingdom unless I'm going to kill Krishna. That was the kind of arrogance that he had. And finally, we know that Krishna literally spared him because Rukmini literally begged Krishna to spare her brother. So now you can see that Satyajit, since he was a great devotee of the sun god, King Satyajit, gradually entered into a very friendly relationship with him. The sun god was pleased with him and delivered to him an exceptional jewel known as Shamantaka. When Satyajit wore this jewel in a locket around his neck, he appeared exactly like an imitation of sun god. Putting on this jewel, he entered the city of Dwarka, and the people thought that the sun god has come into the city to see Krishna. They knew that Krishna, being the supreme lord, was sometimes visited by the demigods. So while Satyajit was visiting the city of Dwarka, all the inhabitants except Krishna took him to be the sun god himself. Although King Satyajit was known to everyone, he could not be recognized because of his dazzling effulgence of the Shamantaka jewel. So we can see that, how beautiful this Shamantaka jewel is. And I think last week Ramnath Prabhu was mentioning about that there was some kind of thinking that maybe this itself is the Kohinoor diamond kind of a thing. There was a talk that was going on that maybe this Shamantaka jewel was that. But again, those things apart based on what people think. But here is the story of the Shamantaka jewel, because there's a lot of nectar again in this, and we can see that from every Krishna Katha, there is some moral of the story. There is so many things that we can learn from all of this. But you can see that some of these devotees, like Satyajit, they're all like devotees of Satyajit. They're all devotees of these demigods, like, like Indra, Chandra, Surya, and all that. But the sun gods, but we have to understand that the the devatas or the demigods, they can only give material desire. They can only fulfill material desires. They can only grant or give benedictions of material desires. But the actual benediction of giving complete what do you call liberation or going back to Godhead, that is only possible and that's only possible with Krishna. That's all in the hands of Krishna. And that is something. That's why, if you remember, even when Muchukonda was actually praying, I think Kartikeya, the chief of the demigods, he tells Muchukonda that I can give you all the material benedictions, but don't ask me for liberation, because that is something only Vishnu or Sri Krishna can give. So we have to understand the highest benediction of giving liberation from this cycle of life, that only can be given by Krishna. But here you can see that the sun god has given him a gift of Samantika jewel, and that was actually put in a locket. That's what we do, isn't it? When you find a small jewel, now people try to put it within like a pendant or a locket around the neck. So it was, but you can imagine that it was glowing so much that it was like an imitation of the sun god. And we can understand through this that when Krishna was actually ruling Dwarika, there were many demigods also would come and visit Krishna. And it's very interesting. We know that even Narada used to visit, Dwarika, and like this. So you can imagine that during that time, it was a different kind of a yuga, where the Supreme Lord Krishna himself was ruling Dwarika, and we had the demigods like Indra and Chandra. They're all different pastimes that were happening. So here we can see that similarly, Satyajit was visiting the city of Dwarka, and everybody took him. Maybe he could be the sun god himself. Can you imagine like how we can't even think on those lines? But that is Dwapara Yuga, right? So we had to understand that out of all the yugas like Satya Yuga, Trita Yuga, Kali Yuga, and this Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is supposed to be the most fallen yuga, like where people are so much of anxiety. Our lifespans are reduced. Our power of concentration is reduced. Our spiritual knowledge is reduced. In the days of Dwaraka, even people would read the Vedas. They would have exemplary powers. We can see in the last chapter where even Pradyumna, he was, he had his wife called Mayavati thing. Then she gave him Mahamaya. She given him extraordinary powers, because that they could even go into the outer space and they can come back and fly in the sky also. So that was the kind of a time, a different yuga, where people had such superior knowledge and superior strength also, and superior powers. But we're living in the Kali Yuga. So for us, sometimes to even think, it's like really mind-boggling. Really, how is it impossible? But in those days, it was possible. And we can imagine that, like Bhishma Pitamaha on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, 175 years, he was roaring like a lion. Can you imagine 100 years, even 75 years, we can't last, where we have back pains and arthritis and all kind of problems. Imagine 175 and he was unstoppable. Bhishma Pitama. That's the kind of energy levels and life there. It was during the period of Dwapara Yuga. So mistaking Satyajit to be the sun god, some of the important citizens of Dwarka, they immediately went to Krishna to inform him that the sun god has arrived to see him. And at that time, Krishna was playing chess. So you can imagine chess was being played from the time of Dwapara Yuga. And it's so interesting to note that today's one of the greatest chess champions are from India, and they're so young. And people from Tamil Nadu and all that, they are like become such amazing champions, right? I forgot his name also, I can't pronounce, but I think, yeah, they're like great champions coming from India. But these things are all started from chess was being played. Such an intelligent game was being played from the time of Dwapara Yuga. And one of the important residents of Dwaraka spoke thus: my dear Lord Narayana, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. In your planetary expansions as Narayana or Vishnu, you have four hands with different symbols: the conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. You are actually the owner of everything. But in spite of you being the supreme personality of Godhead, Narayana, you descended in Vrindavan to act as a child of Yashoda Mata, who sometimes used to tie you up with her ropes, and you are celebrated therefore by the name Damodara. So it is so important. It is such an amazing thing, isn't it? So Satyajit, he's been gifted the Samantika jewel, and he goes to Dwaraka, and people mistake him for the sun god, and now he's come to meet Krishna. And you can find the people at that time, they were so knowledgeable, right? We take it from Vasudeva to, like, all the great devotees of, or you can say, like, Uddhava, Akrura, all of them, they were like so knowledgeable. Even a common man in Vrindavan was so knowledgeable that they could understand spiritual life. And here you can see that the person, one of the residents, he's going to Krishna and he's speaking like, in the end, they know that Krishna is the original, the supreme personality. That's why we call Krishna as the Paripurna Avatar. Paripurna Avatar means he is the supreme personality of Godhead. And Krishna is the source of all the Vishnu Tattvas. So he expands himself as and Garbo Dakshai Vishnu, Shiro Dakshai Vishnu, and Karno Dakshai Vishnu. Like that, he expands himself. And from that expansion, you can find like from millions of universes get created. And again, he enters into those. And again, after entering into that, he enters into each and every atom of of the universe. So you can see that how Krishna is expanding himself all the time. And Krishna, not only that, from the right side, Krishna expands as Balaram, and on the left hand, Krishna expands as Radharani. And we all heard about that beautiful sloka from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Radha Krishna eki atma duhi dehadari anyone vilase rasha ashwadana kari. Radha, Srimati Radharani and Krishna eki atma, but they appear in two different bodies in a loving relationship with Krishna. So Krishna is always expanding. We will find later also during the stories, we'll see like how Krishna is expanding into 16,000 forms as well. So Krishna can always expand. We've seen that even when Brahma came and stole away all the cows, right, and the cowherd boys, Krishna expanded himself into multiple cows and into multiple cowherd boys. And even Brahma was totally confused. I thought I stolen all the cows and cowherd boys. How is it that suddenly all of them, the same number is matching? Then where did all of them disappear? So even Krishna could even fool Brahma also, like, but again, we have to understand that they're all the divine pastimes, not to be understood in the material platform, but these bring to light that how powerful that Krishna is, that Krishna, for him, even if you're under the control of Brahma, as long as you are in love with Krishna, Krishna can even protect you from anything else at all. Right, so that's another beautiful thing. So here we can see that the residents of Dwarka is addressing Krishna that you are the original Narayana and you descended in the form of as a child of Vrindavan Yashoda Mata. So this is the beauty thing, right? Krishna is someone whom you cannot conquer. Ajita, he is someone who's unconquerable. But the only people who can conquer Krishna or win his heart are the devotees of Krishna. Just like Mother Yashoda, there is no way she could tie him down with ropes when Bala Gopala was there. When Krishna was running away from Mother Yashoda, she tried her best. She caught him from behind. We've seen that during the month of Damodar, we covered that. She put him at the ropes around his waist, but still she was not able to tie him. And then Krishna finally, seeing that her mother is struggling, so finally he gives and seeing the love that of her mother has shown. Sorry. So we can always see that Krishna is always reciprocating to the love of his devotees. Krishna is always reciprocating. So how much of love you have? Ye yatamam prapajyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna is saying, according to your love and affection, even I am also reciprocating. So now the residents of Dwarka, they're saying that even though they are the supreme Narayana, but you're acting like a small child of Yashoda Mata, and you sometimes he even ties you down with the ropes. And then you're called as Damodara. We all read about Damodara. Dama means rope, Uddara means waist. Because Mother Yashoda ties Krishna around his waist with the ropes. That's why he's called as Damodara, because it's the ropes which are tied around the waist. So we can understand that Krishna can be as powerful as showing the Vishwarupam, as he showed to Arjuna at the same time. But because he wants all of us to develop the love for Krishna, as a nice Balagopala, he's doing this divine pastime. And that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Narayana, as accepted by the citizens of Dwarka, was later confirmed by the great Mayavadi philosopher, leader Adi Sankaracharya. By accepting the Lord as impersonal, he did not reject the Lord's personal form. Everything which has a form in this material world is subjected to creation, maintenance, and annihilation. But because the Supreme Lord Narayana does not have a material form, subject to limitations, Sankaracharya, to convince the less intelligent man who take Krishna to be an ordinary human being, said that God is impersonal. This impersonality means that he is not a person of this material condition. He is a transcendental personality without a material body. So that's the thing, right? Because in this material world, everything is material. Even our body is made of panchabhuta, right? It's all about material body. But here when we're talking about Krishna, we're talking about the original Narayana, the main candle from where all the other candles are lit, where all the expansions are happening. And we've seen how Sankaracharya was talking about, Advaita philosophy, and then accepting the Lord as impersonal. But again, the same Sankaracharya also written Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, right? So where he glorified Krishna and he said like Bhagavad Gita, Kincha Didita, like even a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, reading a Bhagavad Gita will protect us from all kind of a thing, not your cleverness in this material world. So he himself also accepted, but here when we say God is not material or God is impersonal, what it means is that here that God doesn't have a material body like us. For example, Krishna, we can see that on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was looking so beautiful because God doesn't age. At that time, he was like close to 100 years. But you can imagine how young he was looking, like so young he was looking, because he's not subjected to the material condition. We are all constantly under the condition of material energy, and we are born, we are created, we are maintained, and we are annihilation. And that's why we the sloka which is mentioned, Dehinosmin yata dehi kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuhyate. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, as the Atma is passing in the body from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly the Atma will pass into another body at the time of death. So our body is constantly changing because it is subjected to this material, because it's part of this material energy, and we are living in this material world, and we are subjected to all this creation, maintenance, and annihilation. At the same time, we are born, we grow, and we get old, and we die. But Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is not subjected to anything. But Shankaracharya, in order to convince the less intelligent that to take Krishna to be an ordinary being, even today it's the thing, isn't it? People who do not have a knowledge of Krishna, they think Krishna is like an ordinary human being. They say like, oh, how can Krishna go and marry so many? Oh, Krishna is playing with gopis, because they don't have the real knowledge. And because all of us, like, because we are so fortunate as devotees, we come across Krishna consciousness. We have a great, Acharya, Jagat Guru, like Prabhupada, who's given us this knowledge. But people who do not have the knowledge, they have only mental speculation. They only must have heard somewhere from the grandparents or something like that. So a lot of things got kind of diluted in our world, isn't it? So there's a lot of misunderstanding, taking Krishna to be an ordinary being. Even at that point of time, also the way Pandavas took Krishna was not the same way the way Duryodhana and the Kauravas took, right? So when both Arjuna and Duryodhana went to Krishna, Arjuna said, Krishna, I just want only you. But Duryodhana thought that is a foolish decision. Why do you want Krishna? He's just an ordinary person, and he chose Krishna's army. And finally, Krishna showed by being as a charioteer for Arjuna. Arjuna was able to win the war also because Krishna was in his side. But Duryodhana did not have that realization. So the very important thing to understand is that Krishna not to be an ordinary human, but Krishna came in a transcendental form. In fact, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, foolish people and people who have no knowledge think about him as an ordinary human being, but they do not understand his higher transcendental form, which is very completely transcendental, and which is what he showed Arjuna, right? He's showing Vishwarupam. He says, I'm giving you transcendental divine eyes with which you can see my universal form. So Krishna cannot be seen. The universal form of Krishna cannot be seen with the ordinary eyes. So there are so many things that we cannot see. So even the spiritual form of Krishna is not something which we can see with the material eyes. Sarvata Panipadam ta Sarvato Shishiromukam Sarvata Smriti Malloke Sarvam Avrita Tistati. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, everywhere are Krishna's eyes, legs, faces, and ears, and everywhere. But only thing is that because we have a material body, we have a material vision, material eyes, we are not able to see Krishna. And that is the reason why Krishna, out of compassion towards us, comes in the form of a deity form, so that we can see him. Otherwise, the spiritual form we cannot see. But again, here also, Krishna is appearing as an incarnation, Archa Vigraha incarnation of Krishna, so that we can see and worship him in that way. In fact, Krishna himself recommends in Bhagavad Gita the best way to worship him is worshipping him in a deity form. So the citizens of Dwarka address Lord Krishna not only as Damodara but also as Govinda, which indicates that Krishna is very affectionate towards the cows and calves. And just to refer to their intimate connection with Krishna, they addressed him as Yadunandana, because he was born he was born the son of Vasudeva in the Yadu dynasty. The citizens of Dwarka concluded by addressing Krishna as the supreme master of the whole universe. They addressed Krishna in many different ways, proud of being citizens of Dwarka who could see Krishna daily. How fortunate, isn't it? Just imagine seeing that your king is the supreme lord of the universe. Just imagine going in every day and taking the darshan of the supreme Lord Krishna, who was there as a king of Dwarka. And the people of Dwarka knew that Krishna is the original Narayan also, and they're addressing him in different ways as Govinda, because Go means cows. And in fact, here also we say Radha Gokulananda. Go means cow, Kula means flock of cows, Ananda, someone who gives pleasure to the cows. So here we can say he's being addressed as Govinda, who's affectionate to the cows. And not only that, he was addressed as Yadunandana. So Krishna is so beautifully called by so many different names, isn't it? And many of you who have recited the Vishnu Sahasranama, you know that the 1,000 names of Krishna are given in this Vishnu Sahasranama, and every beautiful name of Krishna denotes a different, attribute of Krishna, or beautiful things. So the people of Dwarka, they knew that Krishna is the supreme master of the universe, right? So, and that's why they're very peaceful. In fact, Krishna tells us the peace formula, how to be peaceful in life. Krishna says, when you understand, because in today's world, we always think that I'm the master. We think that all the world wars that are happening is because every country, every leader thinks that I'm the one who has to be benefited. I'm the Lord of the universe. I'm the one, including people like Hiranyakashipu. But Krishna is telling, Bhoktaram yajana tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam jnatamam shantim richati. That Krishna understands, that person who understands that Krishna is the supreme Lord of the universe. Krishna is the supreme benefactor. He is the Lord of all the demigods, and someone who understands Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, that who understand that Krishna is our best well-wisher and our best friend. Those kind of a people, devotees of Krishna, will have peace of mind, because we understand that we are not the supreme proprietors. It is Krishna who is the supreme proprietor. And that's why the city of Dwarka, they were addressing Krishna as the supreme Lord of the whole universe, because they knew that Krishna is the one who is the original Narayan. And when Satyajit was visiting the city of Dwarka, the citizens felt great pride to think that although Krishna was living in Dwarka like an ordinary human being, the demigods were coming to see him. They informed Lord Krishna that the sun god with his glaring bodily effulgence was coming to see him. The citizens of Dwarka confirmed that the sun god's coming into Dwarka was not very wonderful, but people all over the universe who were searching after the Supreme Lord knew that he had appeared in the Yadu dynasty and was living in Dwarka as one of the members of that family. Thus, the citizens expressed great joy on this occasion. On hearing the statements of his citizens, the all-pervasive Lord Krishna simply smiled. Being pleased with the citizens of Dwarka, King Krishna informed them that the person they described as the sun god was actually King Satyajit, who had come to visit Dwarka city to show his opulence in the form of valuable jewel obtained from the sun god. So this is the thing, isn't it? It's the nature that of people in the material world, isn't it? When you have something, when you buy a new Tesla that nobody has, when you're buying a latest iPhone, or you're having a latest version of TV or anything like that, you want to just go and flaunt yourself. So you can find here Satyajit has been given this beautiful jewel, Samantika jewel. So he's going there to Dwarka to show himself that what a wonderful, valuable jewel that he's got from the sun god. And even though the citizens felt happy, you had this normal feeling, right? And when you have a king and you're proud of your king, and you find that all the greatest leaders are from other countries, they're coming to visit your king, you feel very proud, isn't it? Because we come from such a great city and we have such a great king, that people are coming to visit him. So even though they were mistaking Satyajit to be like a sun god, so they, even though they were like thinking the sun god coming to Dwarka was not something which is very great actually. But actually the thing is, even though it's very interesting, because Krishna hasn't even seen Satyajit, but he knows everything that has happened, right, in the past, in the present, because why? Krishna is sitting in the heart of all living entities. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannavesto matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha vedaisya sarvaraham eva vedo vedantakrit vedayeva cha. Krishna says, I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So the people of Dwarka, they were mistaking Satyajit to be the sun god, but Krishna knew who he was and the reason why actually he's coming to visit Dwarka. So it's very interesting because nothing can be hidden from Krishna because he's sitting in each and every atom of the universe. So he knows everything. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kasyana. Krishna tells Arjuna, I know everything that has happened in the past, everything that's happening in the present, and everything that's about to happen or in future what's going to happen. But me, nobody knows. So Krishna knows all our lives. And that's the reason why he brought all our devotees together so that we can all listen to Krishna Katha. It is not an ordinary life that we should imagine. Bahunam janmanamante jnanaman papajyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Krishna is telling that a devotee of Krishna is so rare, so rare. Anybody who's worshipping Krishna is so rare because Krishna says after millions and millions of lifetimes of being born and dying, finally a devotee who comes to understand that Krishna is the supreme Lord of the universe, such a devotee, Krishna is saying, is very, very rare. So when we are listening to the Krishna Katha and when we are listening to the residents of Dwaraka, they having this knowledge that Krishna is the supreme Lord. And when we listen to Krishna Katha and when we understand in our using our spiritual intelligence that Krishna is the supreme Lord, that Krishna says such kind of a devotee are very rare. So we can imagine how auspicious our lives are, how rare our lives are. And that's why we should never leave the lotus feet of Krishna. We should never leave lotus feet because this life is so rare. Out of 1,000 among men, at least one person will take to spirituality. And out of 1,000 among people who take spirituality, hardly one takes to Krishna consciousness. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam. Krishna says the same thing. Out of 1,000, one person takes to Krishna. So Satyajit, however, did not come to see Krishna. He was instead overwhelmed by the Samantaka jewel. He installed the jewel in a temple to be worshipped by the Brahmanas. He engaged for this purpose. This is an example of a less intelligent person worshipping a material thing. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that less intelligent persons, in order to get immediate results from their fruitive activities, worship the demigods created within this universe. The word materialistic means one concerned with the gratification of senses within this material world. Although Krishna later asked for the Samantaka jewel, King Satyajit did not deliver it. On the contrary, he installed the jewel for his own purpose of worship. And who would not worship that jewel? That Samantaka jewel was so powerful that daily it produced a large quantity of gold. A quantity of gold is counted by a measurement called bara. According to the Vedic formula, one bara is equal to about 21 pounds. And one pound equals to about 82 pounds. The jewel was producing 170 pounds of gold every day. Besides that, it is learned from the Vedic literature that in whatever part of the world this jewel was worshipped, there was no possibility of famine. And wherever the jewel was present, there was no possibility of anything inauspicious such as pestilence. So we can see that Satyajit, he has come to Dwarka. He was not interested in even seeing Krishna, but his main purpose, because that's what happens in this material world, that anything that we acquire, we take great pride in that, but it's all for the material purpose that we are doing the thing. So here also we can find that he is the less intelligent person. So the point according to Bhagavad Gita is less intelligent people worship the demigods like Surya, or whether Indra and things like that for a material benediction, because these material things, they are temporary, right? They don't last for long, and we don't last long as well to enjoy that. We've seen that, right? In material world, a father is earning so much of money and one day he passes away and he has to give it away to somebody else, to his children and things like that. So here we can find that less intelligent people worship material things, and in order to get results from their fruitive activities. And so here, even though he was ready to install it in a temple and for the purpose of worshipping. And we can see from this paragraph that this Samantaka jewel was actually producing so much of gold, 170 pounds of gold every day. So you can imagine having this in any country, like when the gold is being produced from this Samantaka jewel. And not only that, like it is mentioned that there's no famine in those kind of a places. So you can imagine how much of this thing, because a lot of people, they're interested in gems, right? Back in India also, I remember a lot of people, they buy different gems because according to their nakshatra, and so that it will give them prosperity and it will give them more auspiciousness and all that. So similarly, the Samantaka jewel is known that whoever is worshipping or wherever it is being worshipped, there is not going to be a possibility of famine or even anything inauspicious as well. So that was a kind of this thing that, according to the Vedic formula, that was what is being mentioned at that point of time. So even though we can see from this that even though Krishna was wanting to have the Samantaka jewel and King Satyajit did not deliver it. So we can see, and all these are like, we have to understand their leelas. So, and we'll see like how there's a purpose behind each and every one of these Krishna leelas. And that's what is very something which we have to be very, very clear to understand, not to be considered in the normal stories, but some kind of a moral of the story is going to come up. As we can see that he is worshipping a demigod, which less intelligent people do that. He's been given a benediction of a Samantaka jewel, and that's not which pure devotees do not ask for anything material like this. Lord Krishna wanted to teach the world that the best of everything should be offered to the ruling chief of the country. King Ugrasena was the overlord of many dynasties and happened to be the grandfather of Krishna. So Krishna asked Satyajit to present the Samantaka jewel to the king Ugrasena. Krishna pleaded that the best should be offered to the king, but Satyajit, being a worshipper of the demigods, had become too materialistic, and instead of accepting the request of Krishna, thought it is wiser to worship the jewel to get 170 pounds of gold every day. Materialistic persons who can achieve such huge quantities of gold are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, therefore, to show special favor, Krishna takes away one's great accumulation of material wealth and thus makes one a great devotee. But Satyajit refuses to abide by the order of Krishna and did not deliver the jewel. So here, Krishna is saying, like, so there were so many things, lessons that Krishna is being kind of like conveying to us through this, that the best of everything should be offered to the ruling chief of the country. So as we all know, at that time, even the Dwarka and everything was coming under the Mathura province, right? So that's the reason why Krishna transferred the people of Mathura to the city of Dwarka, because everything was coming under the Mathura province. And also we know at that point of time, Krishna defeated Kamsa. And then what did he do? He released his grandfather or Kamsa's father, Ugrasena, from jail, because Kamsa was so evil that he went and imprisoned his own father, Ugrasena. And so Krishna released Ugrasena and asked him to rule the whole the dynasty of Mathura, right? So that was what was happening. So now, Krishna told Satyajit that even though he was ruling, he was a king of one of the places in the Dwarka district. He said he still asked him to give it to Ugrasena, which he was not. And people, like, this is another lesson, that people in the material world, when they acquire something material, they had developed so much of attachment towards it. So even though when Krishna was telling, it's falling on deaf ears, because it's a typical mindset of the materialistic people. They always keep weighing, saying that, okay, what do I get by giving to the king? On the other hand, if I worship this on my own, I'm going to get 170 pounds of gold. So I'm going to be like much more able to acquire much more wealth at that point of time. So this is the way the materialistic people are always thinking. But as we can see over here, that whenever Krishna wants to show special favor, he takes away the great accumulations of material wealth in a way. Especially many of the devotees. In fact, I had the wonderful opportunity to serve one of Prabhupada's disciples, and he was actually doing business. And he told me, like, for many decades he was doing business, but Krishna was always kept him grounded, that no matter whenever he was making a lot of money, everything was taken away, so that he remains humble. Because what happens is, a pure devotee of Krishna always wants to make sure that you're not too attached to this material wealth and all that. Krishna wants you to be more attached to him and in a bhakti life, because the more you get attached to the material world, you'll be far away from from Krishna, because our attachment to, because our gunas also will be in tamo guna and rajo guna. But as we get attached to Krishna, we'll get detachment towards the material world. So ordinarily we cannot detach ourselves from the material world. We can't say like, okay, no, I don't want this, but as we keep attached to Krishna, that is when our material desires will slowly come down. And we'll find, because why? Because we have understood or realized that Krishna Bhakti is giving me much more joy than the joy that we get for acquiring some material things. And that is the truth. Why? Because we are a spirit soul, and a spirit soul can find happiness only in the spiritual world. And that spiritual world starts by chanting the holy names of Krishna, or by doing the kirtan for Krishna, or listening to Krishna Katha. Everything is kirtan. So when we engage in that, when we have a higher taste of Krishna, and that's why Krishna says, Visaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rajopasya param dristva nivarte. Param dristva. When you get a higher taste of Krishna Bhakti, then you'll start losing attachment, or you will not feel bad if you're not even make money, because already you're finding a lot of joy in just Krishna Bhakti itself. So Satyajit, he refused to abide by the order of Krishna, and he did not give the jewel, even though Krishna was actually ruling Dwarka at that point of time. So that's the nature of the materialistic person, because they have so much of attachment that they do not want to get rid of anything that they acquired through the materialistic thing. And right from Ravana to Hiranyakashipu, all of them are the same category, right? They are great devotees, but they pray mainly to the demigods, or they pray to Indra, or pray to Chandra, or whether they pray to Brahma, and but for a material benediction, not for a spiritual benediction. But what Krishna is planning to, what Krishna is saying is, he wants to give us the highest benediction of giving us liberation and seeking this to take us back to Krishna Loka. He's saying, I don't want you to be in this material world, because this material world is called Dukkalayam. It is temporary, it is full of unhappiness, it's so full of miseries. I don't want you to be here. What Krishna wants to do is the highest favor, highest thing, highest benediction, where he's saying, I want you to be liberated from all these things, and I want you to take you back to my home. And whole Bhagavad Gita, speaking of Bhagavad Gita by Krishna to Arjuna, is the whole essence of that, is that engage in Krishna Bhakti and just come back to me, because you cannot stay in this material world for a long time, because this is a place of duality, of happiness and unhappiness, and everything is temporary in this material world. And after this incident, Satyajit's younger brother, in order to display the opulence of the family, took the jewel, put it on his neck, and rode on a horseback into a forest, making a show of his material opulence. While Satyajit's brother, who was known as Prasena, was moving here and there in the forest, a big lion attacked him, killed both him and the horse on which he was riding, and took away the jewel to his cave. News of this was received by the king of the bears, Jambavan, who would then kill that lion in the cave and took away the jewel. Jambavan had been a great devotee of the Lord since the time of Lord Ramachandra, so he did not take the valuable jewel as something he very much needed. He gave it to his younger son to play with as a toy. So this is another part of it as a new paragraph. It's been again rolling. We can see Satyajit himself is so attached to this jewel, and now we see that his younger brother is taking his jewel and went for a horseback ride into the forest. And now and it's very amazing, isn't it? We've seen that a lion is attacking him, and then again the lion takes away into a cave, and then a Jambuwan. Imagine a Jambuwan, a bear attacking a lion and taking away the jewel. So you can imagine at that point of time how even Jambuwan again, Jambuwan, or whether you take some of these Vanara Seva and all this. So they're like not ordinary at that point of time. They were again, you can see that even though it's Jambuwan, we may consider as an animal, but again, you can see that Jambuwan is a great devotee of the Lord since the time of Lord Ramachandra. So you can see all these people are once again, as the Lord is reincarnating himself, even the devotees are again coming in different forms, right? So we've seen that even the 16,000 wives of Krishna, they're all actually rishis from the time of Lord Ramachandra. And even the gopis, they're expansions of Radharani. So similarly, like this, you can see that even Jambavan is actually devotee of at the time of Ramachandra, and again he was born, but again he was not so keen about this thing about the jewel, so he takes it and gives it to his son to play it as a toy. So this is again, we'll see the further thing under a next part of it being rolling, where we can see how Krishna will come into the picture and how the fight will happen between Jamban. So a lot of things, beautiful things, some more nectar that we're going to continue in the next week. I'm just being very respectful towards everybody's time, because it's just we crossed about 9 o'clock. So I will just pause over here. But as of now, we can see that Satyajit's brother takes it, and he's being killed, and the lion takes it and takes it to the cave. Jambuwan, he attacks the lion, kills the lion, and then he takes it, and now he's giving his son for a young son to play with the toy. So we'll stop with that. In the next city, next week, we will see how Satyajit's brother, how Satyajit becomes worried, and then he takes action and things like that. We will cover that in the next session. So I just want to pause over here. I just wanted to ask if there's any realizations, anything that anyone would like to share.
Prabhu, this chapter is closely associated with Ganesh Chaturthi. There. people talk about Chamatkar story.
Okay. It's one of the
Yeah,
stories, isn't it? During
just
Ganesh Chaturthi, they read the story, isn't it? And
yeah.
and again, we are reading it during another very auspicious month, because Krishna says, Masana Margashishoham. Of all the months
Okay.
in the year, I'm Margashisha month, which is the month of November and December. So equally auspicious. This is an auspicious month of Krishna. So we are reading this chapter in this month. So equally divine. Yeah, but that's nice one, Prabhu. That's true. And yeah, I can't wait for seeing the action. I just want to also just mention that next Thursday, we may not have a session because I have to go to the airport in the evening, on Thursday evening. So we will have a session the week after next week. So just wanted to apologize for that I'm not able to do it next week. Vrindavan Das Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us. Always a joy to have you in the Sangha. Vrindavan Das Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Yeah, any other Amoga Prabhuji, any realizations, anything, any corrections?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very beautiful session. It is a nectar going on. So just one point that in the Padma Purana, in the Vishnu Purana, it is mentioned that Vishnu Bhakt Bhota Sargho Lokesmin Daiva Asura Evacha Vishnu Bhakta Smrita Daiva Asuraha Tad Viparyayaha. So that means two kinds of people exist on the planet. Out of them, one kind is Vishnu Bhakta Smrita Daiva. Whoever are the devotees of Vishnu, they are the only the divine. Everyone are Asuraha Tad Viparyayaha. Opposite to that number is everyone are demons. So just wanted to add, like as you are mentioning about worshippers, demigod worshippers. So Krishna also mentions that one. कामैस्तैर्हृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्ते अन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्ताय प्रकृत्या नीताः स्वया. They are the called Hrutajnanas. So people who lost their minds, they worship the different demigods. So they are all considered as the demons, as per these statements. So only one point of, because of only Krishna can purify everyone, but not anyone else. So that is the reason many devotees are coming to only Krishna consciousness for purificatory purposes. If some people are coming for sense gratificatory purposes, they cannot stand in Krishna consciousness for longer period. They'll come and go immediately. Or maybe 1 or 2 sessions they will see it, they don't find that kind of sense gratification here, and they will go. But actually, Krishna consciousness is the purificatory thing. Madharma gunairedaihi parishamshuddhasayah purushasya anjasabhyeti srutamatra gunam himam. So as soon as we hear the qualities of Krishna, so that's why people are coming here just by the hearing parishamshuddhasayah, with purificatory desires. So otherwise, if some people come with some desires that I wanted to fulfill, I want a good job, good family, good things, such kind of people, they cannot stay for longer. And whatever the philosophy, it cannot stand in front of the this Achintya Bheda Tattva. So there are so many philosophies existing there, but Krishna consciousness philosophy is on the top. But just wanted to mention that many people, they come here into Krishna consciousness with so many things. Manushyanam sahasresu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatitamapi siddhanam kaschid mam veti tatpataha. Tatpataha. Krishna conscious is not a religion or some kind of belief or faith. It is a science. One has to, how it can be purified. It is a practical realization in due course of time. So just wanted to mention Prabhuji. So as soon as we keep hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is already translated into English very beautifully, Yeah, gradually. So nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistike. Every day it is required. Shrunutaha sradhya nityam kurunasasta swacheshitam kalena nati dirghena bhagavan vishite krudi. So the Lord, in soon, He will come and stay in our heart. Of course, He stay as a Paramatma in in the heart of all the living entities. But Bhagavan will stay Hridi. But Krishna will enter into the heart. Apart from the Paramatma, Krishna will enter into that.
Yes.
So just a few points, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Prabhuji very nicely said. Prabhu just was trying to relate what.
So beautiful. I was just some in the ones which have been mentioned. So beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
you were trying to sell something. I was trying to link what Prabhu was saying, right? So, as a devotee, Parikshit Maharaj got to know that it was only 7 days.
Mm.
So, instead of enjoying his life, he
Mm.
just put all the 7 days to hear Lord pastimes. So that's what, like, if you have liking for Lord, you will leave everything and then surrender unto Him. No,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
nicely said, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what happens, right? When we get a taste of Krishna Bhakti, then you will find like all the other things are not giving us the joy that we. But till then, we had to be persistent, and it's not like some austerity where we had to go into the forest and stand on our head and things like that. This is all about the actual joy which Krishna is saying. Like when he says, "Fix your mind upon me," he's telling that people who fix their mind on Krishna, they enjoy unbounded boundless happiness, transcendental happiness within the heart. So that is the objective or the goal of Krishna consciousness, to get this pure joy, which makes your soul happy, and not your sense enjoyment, but soul happy. Which is the soul is always joyful and eternal, but we're not able to realize that because it's covered by so much of samskaras and everything. So as we keep practicing, as Prabhuji mentioned, as we keep purifying our senses, then we will be able to enjoy the actual spiritual, joy of serving Krishna. And so nicely, Prabhuji mentioned that even though as Krishna says as Paramatma in everyone's heart, but staying as Krishna and engaging and listening to our Kirtan and just reciprocating the love of a devotee, that is pure joy that devotees enjoy in the association of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Thank you, Nagar Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Very nice session.
Thank you, Prabhu. As always, very supportive. Divyaji, anything you would like to add or any realizations or comments?
No, not really. I was just following, and I don't know why. Probably is it because is it a continuous from last week? I found it a bit slightly maybe I missed kind of like
Yeah.
a portion, but it was good to um like see different example that you shared, that how Krishna is not like one of us who can be like measured or or um, um or explained, that he has these gifts, that he can do so many like unexplainable things. It's you need to be in the spiritual mindset, or
Yes.
it's to understand that era, that time, and what he used to be able to do, and what he can do in any by coming in any forms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's really like that's a good understanding there, Divyaji, because it is so important. Sometimes we may think like the people just mention like listen to Krishna Katha or some of these things. They try to reason out to understand what do we get. But if you really look outside in the material world, people are fighting even in the name of the religion because their knowledge about God as something where they feel like it's very sectarian. It's either my God or you're going to go to hell, or it's my God versus you're going to go there. It's almost like a scaremongering. But here through when we listen to Krishna Katha, we get the actual nectar and essence of what Krishna is. That Krishna is such a supreme Lord, but who's someone who's so divine. He's so spiritual, so transcendental. At the same time, he's engaging in very, very personal relationships and giving us this nectar of love. So when we have this true love, because this is what is missing in the material world today. Today, you see, just go out and you see the social media, so much of nonsense and so much of people, and religion is supposed to, our Prabhupada used to explain that the whole purpose of religion is to love God. And a person who's truly in love with God and someone who has a true understanding of God, he'll become very, very peaceful. He'll become very joyful. He'll always try to share love of God with others. But instead of doing that, people are just killing each other in the name of religion. People are just doing all kind of atrocities, even though they think that they are very religious. Why? Because it's a lack of knowledge of the true Lord, not lack of having true knowledge how God is. Like God has a form. They don't have knowledge that God has a form, but that knowledge is that Supreme Lord is transcendental, spiritual, and not to be understood on the material platform. Because of the lack of that knowledge, people are just falling down, doing all the worst things, because that is what they're understanding about this thing. But here, anybody who's listening to Krishna Katha, you'll become very joyful, you'll become very happy, and you'll become knowledgeable, and you'll become totally calm and more composed. You'll be much more joyful, that you want to just only spread joy. But instead of spreading joy, people are just spreading violence all over them because of the lack of knowledge. So that's why Krishna consciousness is so rare, because this is a platform of spiritual knowledge. This is a place where we get all the spiritual knowledge. And this is what, right? The absence of light is like, darkness, because the absence of knowledge is this, ignorance. And because of ignorance, only people are just doing all kind of, things which are bringing a more and more bad karma to themselves because of lack of knowledge, because of ignorance. And that is what we have to gain through the Krishna Katha, gain the knowledge of Krishna, that God is not like that. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, you see that Krishna, forget about scaremongering. He gives you options. He says, Arjuna, fix your mind on me. If you cannot do this, Arjuna, don't worry. Please at least follow the regulations of Bhakti Yoga. Arjuna, if you cannot do that, don't worry, Arjuna. Just at least go and help some devotees. Arjuna, if you can't do that also, then go and do that. So God is so kind. The Supreme Lord is so kind that He knows that all of us are so different, that He even at least is telling us, like, okay, if you can't do this, at least do this. At least do this.
Yeah.
So that is how God is. But because people don't have the knowledge about God, they go and think that if by killing you and doing all kind of things, my God is going to be happy. God will never be happy, because if you want to do something, some stupidity like that. But because people are living in a very foolish and they don't have this knowledge, that's why knowledge is very divine. Through this knowledge only, we start purifying our senses, purifying our heart. And that's what Krishna wants to do through the Krishna Katha. He wants you to listen to Krishna Katha, so we'll purify our mind, purify our consciousness, and that is the visa and the ticket to go back to Krishna Loka, not to be in this material world, because this is a world of duality. So it's very, very important. Krishna consciousness is that transcendental boat where we can all be happy in this ocean of material suffering, People are just going through all kind of a mental speculation and doing all kind of things because they lack knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And Krishna says all kind of problems have to be solved with spiritual intelligence. And that's what Krishna Katha gives. Krishna Katha and chanting, this gives you spiritual intelligence through which you can, overcome all kind of temptations in this material world. So, Divaji, thank you very much. That's really nice of you to join us. And please, by all means, only next Thursday, we're not going to have, very rarely we don't have. But next week I had to go in to the airport. Otherwise, we'll continue with the same Thursday at this time. So,
can I ask a question, Prabhu?
Yes, Ashim Prabhuji.
So previously I know that Gita Jayanti was celebrated with recitation in the temple. Is there anything organized this year? I couldn't see anything on the temple website.
It is.
There is one on
28th.
28th is the one I've seen, but nothing on 8th, right?
Nothing.
11th.
It's very interestingly, I think Nagaraj Prabhu, we see that, right? In December 11th or 12th, one of those, I think it fallen on a Wednesday. There
11th.
Another Prabhuji, Nagaraj Prabhu, you were saying something?
Yeah, from 11th, it's from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, 11th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Ashwin Prabhu. There's another very senior devotee, Sachinanda Swami, who's from Germany. A wonderful devotee, very senior devotee and very well-known devotee from Germany. And he's coming in and doing the Gita. I think it's Parayanam, because I never seen this happening earlier, because earlier, most of the time, it's always on the last week of December, which is happening on the 28th. But apart from that, even on the 11th of December, as Nagaraj Prabhu mentioned, there's another Prabhuji who's going to be doing, and I think it's going to be the same like Parayana kind of thing. So that's another opportunity where we can take. But even we and myself and Nagaraj also, we are looking at maybe.
Is that in the Watford temple?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
11 December. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
28th for sure. 28th
Yes,
we'll all
100%.
be
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it'll be nice if you're there also. We can all join and do together.
Actually, at the moment we are learning chapter 3.
Okay.
Just reading from Devanagari Lipi. So let's see how far we get. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Thank you always for joining us. And
Hare Krishna.
I want to thank
Can we all just unmute and do loud Hari Bols to Shyam Prabhuji for kindly giving his time and explaining to us the Krishna Katha?
Hari
Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
My humble thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
You always inspire me, and you are the reason why I'm here. I really enjoyed. I'm so joyful. We covered more than 50 chapters, and we are still going strong, and we have consistently been doing it over the years. So I'm so extremely grateful to all our devotees, wonderful devotees who are joining every Thursday to share this beautiful nectar of Krishna Katha. So yes, please keep so you have your association. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everyone. Vanchakalpataribhyasya
Krishna Kripa
Vaitav
की जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय
Jai.
जय हरे